Yo, what's up guys? Carl from TDG here with episode 8 of the Schedule 1 Let's Play. So in today's episode, we're going to be going through and trying to get some new clients. We're going to be working to experiment with a few new mixes, making our first actual deliveries, working to have consistent crystal production for the setting that we're currently in. And we're going to be working on pushing out some volume of some raw products without the mixes, actually trying to cut out a lot of the time this episode of the mixes that were taking place. So at the beginning of the episode, you'll see a lot of the mixes that we were doing. And then towards the latter end of the episode, you'll see some of the new mixes that we were doing. But I tried to speed this process up and get rid of some of the processing that was taking place in between. So making sure that we're keeping up with a lot of our laundering that's been going on, running over to the laundromat to keep that money clean, and also trying to make sure that we are keeping up with the meth production. So trying to really stick with that crystal, trying to really embrace that Heisenberg Breaking Bad kind of concept here. You can see here we're trying to really get into this, flying through, mixing that acid, the phosphorus up with the pseudo, getting that mix going, get that burner burning, and just trying to keep it flowing really nice throughout the oven and the chemistry set. Really trying to prioritize that as a solid money maker. So wrapping up the first day, you could see some of the statistics on screen. Really not a whole lot of sales going on, but more so production. As we pop into this next scene here, we're actually trying to evade the police. I don't even know where they came from, but you know, I figured casino was a good place to hide. So we go for the first one, we miss going for black and it's red. Here we hit black with a 3, obviously higher than a 3 for a jack. And then inside, outside, we go for the inside. We nail a jack no matter what, we were good. Walking away with a $2,000 win there, and then missing again with a black guess on an actual red 6. This clip starts off here with me trying to learn how to utilize the delivery system. I realize now that it is 16 of the storage units or storage spaces for the Veep to be delivered, but actually in the moment I wasn't quite understanding or realizing that, but now we're on to bigger and better things. Running over to Molly, making some deliveries, collecting our earnings here, and just making sure that we are able to stay on point and stay up to speed. Popping over to Benji to do the same. And like I said earlier, we're really trying to push out a high quantity of just raw goods. So we're gonna also be running around to give out some free samples, looking at some people to recruit as our clients. And that one I didn't have an individual baggie, so I just gave her an entire pack of 5, even though that was a little overzealous. So one thing that I want to make sure that we touch on as well is in these videos, I've been trying to continue to show every sale and every deal that we make. And, you know, leave a comment down below. Do you enjoy that? Do you not enjoy that? Is that something that you'd rather see me clip from the videos as a way to make them a little bit more concise, a little bit more to the point with things, and not as bloated as far as some of the clips are concerned? Making sure that we're keeping up with our methamphetamine production and keeping that stuff bagged up and produced. This way we can continue to sling that rock. Yes, sling that rock. We're going to be grabbing our Addy and our battery delivery, keeping up with our methamphetamine again with the liquid meth, throwing that into the oven, and getting our new mix of Granddaddy Perp and Addy for thick slime, making our sale to Geraldine before we pop over to the hardware store for some extra baggies. This was the first time that I noticed that we actually didn't have a 100% chance when delivering the actual product. That was because the customer standards were a bit higher than I was used to seeing. Again, continuing to run around and try to recruit new people. That one we didn't land, but that's okay. Getting some shiny, yep, you know what, is our latest mixture, and then throwing in another one to get things started. Making sure that we're keeping everything packaged as we spoke about earlier, and some pink cookies popping out of that mixer. Throwing in some Adderall with that, and again, keeping up with the methamphetamine. So just overall, I think as a game plan here, what we're gonna try to do until we get to the later stages of the game is we're gonna be really starting to save up and trying to prioritize the methamphetamine production as our main income source. There's a couple of extra recordings going on past this where I really try to do that as well, and I think that's really what I want to make the ultimate goal end up being. So again, making our rounds to Molly here and trying to keep everything topped off in between. Running over to Benji as well to make sure that we're keeping everything moving. And here just kind of fiddling around a little bit with the products that we're selling and trying to keep the prices up while again continuing to make the sales. While we're making these videos, one of the things that I've been doing is trying to stay away from some of the Schedule 1 news, some of the Schedule 1 videos, and I've actually been able to do a pretty decent job about that. That's until recently when I've, obviously been getting the algorithm throwing everything my way, and it's showing me all these little tips and tricks and little things that you can try to do to utilize and to maximize the time and the production skills that you have. Now, I've been trying to stay away from a lot of that, and I will say the only thing that I actually took part in is actually a little later on. I maximized our clientele list, kind of making sure that I was giving the dealers the proper customers while keeping the high-paying customers for myself so that I could continue to generate the most income in the late nights. I know previously I said I was going to try to avoid doing that. Guys, I'm really sorry. It's really hard to avoid doing that, both because of the premium that you're getting as well as for just time-wise on trying to keep up with everything and not having it all get, scrunched into the last little bit of the day. But so one of the goals that we have in these episodes is going to be trying to make monumental progression or actual progression that feels good and actually feels like we're making progress. Yes, leveling up feels nice, unlocking pseudo feels nice, but really expanding into different areas or recruiting new clients, getting new dealers, getting new properties or businesses, all of these aspects of the game are things that I want to really work on making a monumental part of every one of the episodes. So let me know down below if you have any ideas or any concepts that you think would be fun or interesting to be able to integrate into doing that. Otherwise, we're just going to be kind of messing around and figuring this out as we go. Not really going to be looking to min-max, so to speak. We're going to be playing around with things and struggling through learning how to utilize the employee system or the hired help system. Going to be looking to get some botanists going, some more botanists going, I should say, as well as some chemists and some handlers to try to get a little bit more of this process automated. It's fun, it's great. It just kind of starts to feel like there's too much to do all at once in order to stay up on it. So we're going to try to make help with the help that we have, or make use of the help that we have, I should say, in order to tie all of that together so it can be a little easier, a little bit more lenient to get everything done rather than feeling like I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off all the time. And I'm pretty sure that that would get better the more that I play, the more that I'm getting used to it, and I'm trying to learn or getting to learn the ins and outs of a lot of the processes and kind of what goes where and how to utilize what the best. So anyway, jumping ahead here, we can see we're actually starting to hire a cleaner for the bungalow to get some of that trash cleaned up that was kind of piling up in the meth area as well as in the grow room that we had going, always making sure that we keep up on the laundering and also making sure that we don't let any deals fall through. So with that being said, again, this episode I was really having a hard time. I was balancing between trying to make sure that I was keeping my weekly deposits up, trying to make sure that I was focused on pushing for either another business or another property in order to expand the facilities and expand the operation. You'll see a little later in the video what we ended up doing, and it actually took me quite a bit to make the decision, so I'll let that be as a surprise as it comes up. But it was, I will say, not an easy choice that was made. Popping in with Uncle Nelson, giving us some information about the pseudo. This seems really, really late. I'm not sure why that took so long for him to contact me, unless maybe I missed something in that conversation that he had with us there. But I don't think I did, so that one felt a little off. Not sure. But let me know down in the comments below. Again, was there anything there that I missed, or was that just late? Anyway, popping back in to make sure that we're making our deals for the day, trying to do this a little earlier. Like I said, that's still going to be our priority. We're running around getting everything sold up. Ton of green crack moving today. That was our priority of the product, and just really trying to make sure that even in between all of that, we're staying up on our methamphetamine. We've been dumping that over into our dealers and really trying to make the most of that. Something that's going on in the background passively is we're trying to prioritize working with the clients that should unlock our third dealer for us. That is something that we are trying to make a priority of and trying to stay pretty consistent with moving forward. Again, making sure that we are continuing to focus on laundering our money every opportunity that we get, because we are going to be limited on that hard cap of $10,000 deposited each week. Reading up on our seeds, and this really got me thinking at this point, like, do I have an optimal setup going up? Am I doing this the right way? It felt like I wasn't using any of the fertilizer or the PGR that was being used, so I really started to manually maneuver this and manipulate this, because I realized that I actually wasn't going through any of it. I'm not 100% sure what the setup needs to be. I'll have to give this more time going forward, but something that I definitely want to pay attention to, because I'm pretty aware that there's going to be some intricacies or some things that I'm going to have to pay attention to going forward with the mixers, especially when it gets set up with the chemist and the mixing stations. Ducking into the corner there to play some hide and seek before giving our sample to Eugene, and hitting Greg with our final sale to unlock Brad as our third dealer, baby. Let's go. Unlocking the third and final dealer for the zones that we have so far, and then popping on over to the casino. Throwing our first hand of blackjack, you know we got to stay with that, and the dealer hits us and wins, sticking with another hit there for a bust, and then finally catching a W, standing with a 20, getting another W, third time's the charm, and we end up hitting into a 20 for another win. Blackjack, and you got to end with a good time, getting Brad his goods and then running over to make a mix with the horse stuff and the granddaddy perp. Again, keeping up with our methamphetamines and just making sure that overall we are keeping things produced nice and lickety split. Finishing up our meth mix for the night and then getting it in the oven, throwing some other mixes together to keep things operating and moving, and then we'll hit the hay for this night before doing our collections and then getting everything boogieing one more time. So one of the things I really want to talk about here is that, as you can see, I was going through a lot of trying to figure out what the best route forward was going to be, trying to min-max our way, if you will, to actually being able to make progress between the money laundering and our deposits, and trying to really figure out what we could do. You can see in this clip here, I really struggled with whether or not I should buy the post office or if I should continue to save up and try to gamble it for another day or two for a weekly reset to get to the $25,000 that was going to be needed for the barn. Ultimately decided to go for the post office because it was only going to take us about 3 days to actually make the 10K back when you're able to launder 4,000 per day. That feels like a pretty good choice at the end of the day, because that is something that will just continue to pay in perpetuity, where I would have had the outfit, the barn, and that could have got a little complicated. So anyway, a lot of this video behind the scenes was a lot of busy work, keeping everything moving, keeping it up, keeping it running, trying to keep up with the products and the volume that we were actually working to turn out, and trying to get the clientele added so that we could continue to work to add the new dealers while also keeping our crystal cooked and working to continue with keeping that money laundered and ready to go. There was a couple of new points of friction that we found there. One was actually hitting that weekly deposit limit, which, let me tell you, was actually pretty uncomfortable. Anyway, I look forward to talking with you guys all in the next one. Leave a like if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment down below. Let me know any tips and tricks that you found or any things that you would have done differently this episode. Anyway, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.